one of the things that was on my priority list was like, yes, I need a dining room table, but I probably need a squat rack more. So, it's just like
the best thing I've ever heard.
Welcome to Becoming Badass. I am your host, Carly Box, and this is my podcast series where I chat to Defence Force and police applicants from the barracks gym. Throughout these episodes, it is my aim that you will find someone you really resonate with, someone that helps you realise you are not alone and that others are most definitely having similar experiences to you. I like to think that there is something for everyone on this podcast, so I do often interview past members of the barracks gym. This gives you an insight into life after enlistment or appointment and how crucial TBG can truly be towards the success of your new career. I also have the occasional chat with serving members and veterans from ADF and police, who I believe have a story that will help you as you navigate the application process. I hope you can find all stories empowering, inspiring, and motivating as you prepare yourself to go from civilian to serving member. So chuck your headphones in and enjoy today's story. If you do like what you hear, please head over and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. This just helps others find it so that they can enjoy it too. If you're listening on your commute to work, your morning run, or even whilst cleaning the house, be sure to share it on your Instagram stories and tag the barracks gym. I always love seeing where you're listening from. And please, always, always remember that it all comes down to how bad you want it. This episode of Becoming Badass is brought to you by The Barracks Store. Head over to www.thebarracksstore.com.au and check out all of our merchandise for the barracks gym. We've got tights, hoodies, hats, shirts, towels, and all sorts of cool stuff that you guys want to rep wherever you are. We've also got torsion bars. Now, these are the ultimate piece of equipment for training, full stop. Whether you're training from home or you're training from a gym, a torsion bar is so versatile and it allows you to add that extra bit of spice to your training. Particularly with all these lockdowns that we continue to have, torsion bars, you're going to want one. I'm going to add a discount code into the show notes, so make sure you check it out. That's www.thebarracksstore.com.au.
Welcome back to Becoming Badass. Today I'm here with Tam, who is a current serving Army member and a absolute badass. So that's why she's here, obviously. But you were a speaker at my last Chick Chat and a former TBG online member. And now we've become quite good friends. So we're in lockdown and everyone's working from home. So we thought, hey, let's do this. And here she is today. So thanks for being here today, Tam. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're at, and give us an insight into who you are?
Sure. Firstly, thanks for having me on. This was a great way to kill some time working from home on lockdown. 7,876. I'm Tam. Like you said, I'm current serving at the moment. I've actually been in for about 10 years now, split between full-time reserves and back again full-time. I'm a driver specialist by trade within Army, and I'm currently posted to a Cav regiment. It's my second time there. So it was my first posting initially, and now I've come full circle and I'm back there again. So
nice.
So that's pretty much where I'm at the moment.
Awesome. So just a little caveat too. I've got baby Jack with me. He's asleep on me and snoring. So if you can hear weird noises through the microphone, that's what it is. Awesome. Now, you've obviously had a unique experience going full-time, reserves, full-time, and we'll take it right back. So where are you actually originally from?
Born and bred from Townsville.
Yep.
Did most of my schooling there and then moved to Brizzy for a bit. I actually competed in competitive figure skating for about 16 years. So
yeah, right.
Once I kind of outgrew the rink in Townsville, which I'm sure if anyone's been there, they'll know what it's like. They pretty much use a tractor to shave the ice as opposed to a Zamboni machine.
Right.
We moved to Brizzy so that I could go the next step up in coaching and comps. So, started competing at a national level from the age of 11.
I always learn something weird about people when I do podcasts. Of course you were a competitive figure skater in Townsville in the tropics.
I know.
It's clever
if you think about it.
That's such a bizarre Townsville activity. How'd you get into that?
Oh, I remember being about like 4 or 5 years old and seeing the Nagano Winter Olympics on the telly, and just like saw it and was like, Mum, that looks sick. I want to do that. And so she was working full time. So I remember my granddad came and picked me up one day and took me to the rink, and I just jumped straight on and I could just skate like straight away. So pretty much that afternoon, like one of the coaches was there and she gave my granddad a nudge and said, you need to bring her to skate school next week. And yeah, from about the age of 5, I was pretty much putting about as much time onto the ice as I was into school, and that continued up until I was about in year 10.
Far out. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I used to
you
wake my mum up at 5 a.m. to be like, let's go, Mum, it's 5 a.m., got to be on the ice at 6.
So, like, can you do those full-blown spins and stuff where they just, like, spin around for ages and don't stop?
Yeah, I used to actually be able to do a spin called a Bielman spin, which is kind of where you, like, grab your foot at the back and you bring it up and you kind of almost have to dislocate your elbow to bring your head, like, your foot above your head. So whilst you're spinning on one leg. So I can still do a fair bit of it. To the rink, that's my daughter, for everyone listening, a few weeks ago, and she loved it, and naturally I was like, no, I hope you hate it because it's so expensive.
And I also don't want to get up at 5 a.m. to take you to the rink for 6 a.m. So I've always said about my kids, I'm like, you can't do golf because it's boring, and I'm not sitting and watching cricket all weekend in the sun, and you're not doing rowing because I'm not taking you down to the rowing sheds at 4 a.m, but it sounds like it doesn't really matter what you do, swimming, ice skating, it's all the same. So moved to Brizzy. And so, like, how old were you when you joined Defence?
I was 19, had my 20th birthday whilst I was at Kapuka.
Nice. Was it always on your radar?
No. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I was at school, so I was naturally drawn to, like, the emergency services, so I actually thought I'd probably become a cop. But my godmother was a cop, and she basically said, like, if you become a cop, like, I'll kill you, so please reconsider. And it wasn't until I was working at Gloria Jean's at Domain Central in Townsville, which is, like, right down the road from the RAF base, where we had lots of RAF and Army customers come in, particularly from 5AB each day, and I became pretty good mates with this family where there was a warrant officer who was at 5AB and a captain who was a Chinook pilot who had married this warrant officer's daughter, and became friends with that family, and they kind of just, like, you know, put the pressure on, like, you're the right body type, you got the right personality for it, like, you should join the Army. And they pretty much just, like, twisted my arm until I was like, oh, fine, I'll have a crack.
And so did you join from Townsville then, or from Brizzy?
So yeah, Townsville. So we moved back to Townsville at some point for year 12 actually. And then I pretty much worked from Gloria Jean's, like, from that point onwards up until I joined Defence. So
yeah, right. And so were you a driver when you first enlisted?
Yep, enlisted as a driver. Wanted to enlist as a medic. Got the usual, it's like 7,000 years wait list to be a medic. So I waited about 18 months before I got over it and was like, that's it. Like, I'm sick of waiting. I just want to be in now. So I'll take my third option as a driver, and off I went to Kapuka and Puckapunyal.
Yeah, nice. And so when you made the decision to join, and you've obviously made the decision to go into that specific role, obviously you've come from a sporting background in figure skating, but it's, you know, different fitness. It's, you know, strength, and it's, I would say, probably similar cardio, but still, you know, skating and running and beat tests are different. Did you feel like you were fit enough, or did you have to really work hard to pass your PFA? Or where did you sit, and what sort of training did you do, if any, to get yourself prepared?
Oh, God, no. No, it's definitely nowhere near the standard required. When I stopped skating, like, I pretty much fell off the radar in terms of fitness, like, altogether. So I was just working full-time. I was being your standard 18-year-old, partying a lot, not saving any money, rocking up to work after a full bender that night. So for me, like when I decided that it was time to start training, like I was very much out of shape. So I actually had to told my boss, I was like, I need to work less shifts or like shorter shifts so that I have time to start dedicating that towards my training.
Yeah.
So that's, probably when I started to get back into my fitness massively was, when I made the decision to join defence.
And so what did you do? Did you join a gym? Did you do PT? Did you just kind of like go running? What sort of stuff did you decide was going to be relevant for you in order to make sure you could cope with the PFA in Kapuka?
Yeah, so I kind of did as much research as possible, not having really any exposure to defence at all. So the first thing I did was actually the Chinook pilot, Captain Klinger, took me under his wing and said the first thing we're going to do is work on your cardio. So just hill sprints still brings me like physical and mental pain thinking about it. So we did lots of hill sprints, and Castle Hill was probably like the big one for Townsville. So once I got my fitness up a bit, we then started going up Castle Hill with backpacks full of bricks. Up the goat track, 15, 20 kilos worth of bricks in your bag. So, I mean, that prepped me pretty well. So,
And so did you feel confident going into Kapuka that, you were relatively conditioned to handle whatever they were going to throw at you, or were you going into it thinking, like my fitness is lacking and I'm a bit worried?
No, I was definitely like erring on the side of, I'm probably not going to be fit enough. Like I passed my PFA and like was stoked about it, because for me getting to 7.5 after having not done much exercise for a while was pretty big achievement. But I was definitely worried about Kapuka because, I think everyone's like, oh my God, like the army, it's going to be so hard. Like it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever put my body through. Like they're going to be yelling at me. I'm going to be doing OBS courses. And to be honest, like cardio wise, I was fine, but my core strength was terrible. So my core strength and my upper body strength when I got to Kapuka is probably what I struggled with the most. Like,
how did that impact you?
Couldn't climb a rope at all. I can just remember like these PTIs being like, well, hurry up, you have no upper body strength. I'm like, I know, corporal, I can't do it. And they're like, so that was tough, like watching all your peers being able to do stuff that you couldn't physically do. So if I
often say to people like that, just getting that bare minimum in the PFA is fine. That's your ticket on the bus. That allows you to enlist, get on the bus, go to the airport, fly down to Sydney. This is talking from Brisbane. Fly down to Sydney and then get the bus out to Wagga in a non-COVID situation. So it's literally a ticket on the bus. But then beyond that, you've still got to handle whatever they throw at you. And you don't want to be the one dragging ass, and you don't want to be the reason that your team keeps getting, punishment push-ups, or, you don't want to be the person who is lagging behind. You want to be the person who is comfortably, of course, everyone would love to be the fittest and the fastest and the best, but you want to be the person who's just like comfortably hanging out in the middle and just getting it done, and you're not worried about it. So there's so much to worry about already when you go down there, that if you can just put fitness in your back pocket and not have to worry about it, then it's going to make life a lot easier down there. But going down there worrying about, I don't think I can get enough push-ups, or I'm only just passing the beat test. It's only going to cause dramas for you. And, it's things like rope climbs and stuff, obviously that's not readily available to the average person to practice. But, there are ways to improve your core strength to make sure that your core and upper body strength is good for that sort of stuff. It's interesting to hear how that impacted your experience. Did you like Kapuka?
I loved it. I was one of those weirdos that just frothed it.
I was the same. It was so fun.
Well, I had like the most amazing secos too. Like most of them were like from combat corps, so that was super like, they came across as like real badasses, but like also like today highly inappropriate, but hilarious. So
it's a different world, and Michael and I were actually just talking about that yesterday, about like things that we used to say or that would get said to us that just won't fly nowadays.
Yeah.
We were trying to like come up with these sayings for a project that we have coming up. And I was like, I don't think you can say that anymore. I don't think you can say it. But then we were laughing and like thinking about all the things that like you used to say at Kapuka or was said to you, and you're like, it was so funny and so highly inappropriate at the time.
Yeah, I remember actually getting in trouble. I had kept like my secco was that funny that I had actually kept a book whilst I was there of like his most hilarious like one-liners.
Yeah.
So each day I'd update it, and towards the end of the training, you know, you get access to the photo board or whatnot, and instead of like pinning up my photos, like I pinned up this one A4 sheet of paper with this corporal's like funniest one-liners, and
That's
you could
amazing.
just see like all the seccos in the hallway looking at it like laughing, and then you know you just hear hallway 41, and I was like, oh no. They've like pulled it off the wall, and who the F wrote this, Rob? And I'm like, oh no. Yep, that was me. So they come down and they're like, you know, this is bloody hilarious, but go and put it away because we're going to get in trouble if the OC sees it.
Exactly what it was like though.
Yeah, and like not even a year later, I was out at Talisman Sabre on my first massive exercise, and what do you know, that corporal had left training command and was out with 6 RER and pulls up in a PMV right next to me. Oh.
That's always weird when you see your RIs in like real army.
Yeah, it was very strange. It's almost like, you know, you have that power imbalance whilst you're at training command, but then when you get back to the real army, it's like, oh, you're just a corporal. Like,
Yeah.
So
You're not like the god I thought you were. You're just a dude doing his job now. It's funny. You have like such a aura around people when you first join the military, and I know like a lot of the people here, particularly like our police applicants, they see like if they see real cops, they just like froth, and they think that they're celebrities, and they're like, oh my god, I saw like these 2 cops at you know the cafe today. Oh my god, or like, oh my god, I was sitting at the cafe and these like cops came and sat next to me. It was like, oh wow, it's so funny. And you like that before you join. You kind of look, oh my god, that guy's in the army. Wow. Whereas now you're like, oh, AJs. And so moving forward, you've then gone off to IETs at Pucker. How long was your IETs there?
I think it was like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
It would have been around the 3 or 4 month mark. Yeah.
And how did you find that?
Oh, freezing. Coming from Townsville, going straight into a Pucker winter. Oh my god.
I was the same. I was like, Brisbane into Pucker winter, and I didn't even have. I think I just had like one shit jumper, and I froze, and I had to go down to Melbourne because all they had in Seymour was Country Target with nothing. So I had to like get a train to Melbourne and go down and actually buy like a proper jacket and jumper and stuff, because I was like, I'm not prepared for this at all. The Queensland girls are really shit at going to Pucker.
Oh yeah, God, just thinking about having to scrape the windscreens with your ID cards to get the ice off the windows. But no, Pucker again, like, I really enjoyed it. Like, it was another perspective on training command, I guess. So
yeah, because it gets a little bit more relaxed once you go to IETs.
Yeah, definitely Monday to Friday. It still had that you're at training command, like, don't fuck up or we will beast you and you will get extra push-ups. Like, the amount of extra push-ups we had to do, but like in looking back at the time, we're like, man, this sucks. Like, we're getting all these extras. Like, they shouldn't be doing this. But in reality, like, what they were doing was trying to give us extras so that all the people that were lagging in their push-ups on their BFAs that they were going to have to pass, you know, they're trying to get them up to standard so that the boys could smash out 40 push-ups.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing. Once you do your 15 as a male prior to going in, but then, once you get to IETs, it's BFA standard, which for the younger boys goes straight up to 40 push-ups, and for girls it's like 21, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, if you can only just do your 8 push-ups and you've got no spares up your sleeve, you're pretty screwed. You know, you need to be always pushing beyond that bare minimum standard. And I know that you and I share very, very similar mindsets when it comes to that sort of stuff, which we'll rant about soon. So, yeah, what sort of stuff did they get you doing at IETs? Like, was there classroom stuff, hands-on field? Like, what did you have to do?
Yeah, so all of that, I guess, like we started off with a bit of like theory. So for truckies, like specifically that are listening to this, you'll touch on DG in the classroom. So you'll learn all about dangerous goods, like what you can and can't carry on your trucks. Then you pretty much like spend most of the time out in the transport yard. I'm not sure what they do now specifically because it has changed so much with the introduction of the Land 121 vehicles. Mm-hmm. But yeah, old school when I did it, like we were learning how to use ropes to tie down chains. Yeah. We would learn how to change the wheels like off the rims and put new tires on. Yeah. No tire machines. So it's all done by hand to a hard yakka. But I mean, it was fun. Like it was the first time I'd learned how to drive a off-road 4x4 vehicle. I mean, back then we had mogs. So going from like, my little Suzuki Swift into an 8-geared manual mob, I'm like, how am I going to drive this thing?
So what vehicle qualifications do you come out with?
At the time I came out with the Land Rover and the Mog. But I think, most of the IETs now come out with the Man 40M and the HX77.
Okay, cool. I did, I did Land Rover course on the old school model, and I remember doing all that stuff with changing tires, and they, at our unit they had a tire changing machine, but we weren't allowed to use it. But it's tough, and you've got to you have to work together as a team sometimes, or if you have to know how to do it as an individual, because you could be anywhere and something happens and you have to action that particular IA on the vehicle. But you have to be able to work together as a team too. Did you find that the team environment at IETs was all right, or like were people a bit being dicks, or like how did everyone operate?
It's definitely different to Kapuka. You weren't really in a section, so you more had like a troop format. So there was like a lot of individual assessments as opposed to team ones. So IETs highlighted the fact that, like if you can't do something because you're not strong enough, like that's literally not anyone's fault except your own. So if you're not strong enough to pop a tire off its wheel rim and, that's an assessment and you can't do it.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
That's a you problem. And it's not just at IETs. Like if you can't do it, it is going to affect you later in your job, because there's numerous times where you have to be able to do that by yourself. Yeah. And I have had to do that by myself on the side of a highway or in the middle of bumfuck outfield. And, if you're outfield, especially on an X like TS, like they want it done now. Like, they don't want you gymnasting around to be like, oh, I'm a girl, I don't know how to change a tire. Like, where do I put the jack? Like, I can't lift it myself. So, there's all kinds of certain, like, tricks of the trade that you'll learn, like using the jack and, like, the lever to get the tire up. Yeah. So you can do it by yourself, but, I don't know. Like,
but that attitude of, like, oh, I'm a girl, it doesn't fly.
It doesn't fly.
It literally doesn't. People are just like, and when you and I were probably young diggers, it was like you didn't know how to do something, so you just get in and learn. You figure it out. You ask someone, and I was even like that on my deployments. I go out with the maintainers who are civvies, and it's not even my job at all. And I'd be like, teach me stuff. Like, can I just hang out with you guys? And it's a bit different now. People aren't as like proactive and using their initiative to sort of go, oh, I don't know how to do that, so can you please teach me? You had to kind of be the one to say, no, come over here and I'll teach you. And that won't be everybody. That will just be some people.
Yeah, and I think too, like, especially in regards to females, when you and I went through our training, like, there was nowhere near as many females in defence as what there are now. So I know the first time I posted into the same cav unit that I'm at now, there was maybe, 5 females across the whole regiment. Yeah. So
usually in like Clark and QE roles and stuff.
Yeah. And so for me, I thought I was unlucky at the time that I had a female troop sergeant, but man, she was a fucking badass. Like I hated her to my core because she was so hard on me. But, you know, I am lucky that I'm the person that will be like, yep, I fucked up, and I'm not going to give you an excuse because I know that that's what you want to hear. Like, you want to hear my shit excuses as to why I failed at this. So I will give you nothing and just say it won't happen again. And that would drive my troop sergeant mad. So she just rode me for like 18 months. And like that, for me, like her being hard on me, like pushed me to be the best that I could be.
Yeah.
And purely for not giving her the satisfaction that I was crap at my job, like I was like, no, I will prove you wrong. Like, I'm going to be fucking good at my job, and I'm going to be just as good at it as the boys. And I was, and I am. And I'm thankful to her now. I ran into her not even that long ago, and I was like, looking back, I can see what you were doing, and thank you.
Yeah. I have, I think we've all got people like that we've come across over time, and at the time you're like, oh my God, you're such a dick. You'd never say that to their face, but, you know, once you understand it from a leadership perspective or, you know, whatever, or from a maturity perspective, you're like,
I see what you were doing.
Yeah.
You were in my OODA loop.
Yeah, and it's a different style of leadership than what you would experience in like corporate world or, you know, normal civvy world or whatever. Normal. But what's normal nowadays? So the unit that you're at now, is that where you were then posted straight off IETs or?
Correct.
Yeah, cool. So in Brizzy. And then at what point did you, because you have deployed, so at what point were you then sent or selected for deployments?
Yeah, so I finished up my time with CAV and posted up to Townsville to 10 FSB.
Yep.
And I deployed on FSE1 for 8 months as a up-armoured SUV driver for the commander of JDF 636.
Right. So can you put that in civvy speak? What does that kind of mean?
So basically I went to Afghan and was driving a Land Cruiser 200 series that was just full of armour. And so I was responsible for driving the Australian commander. She was a colonel at the time. She's now a major general. I was her driver over in Afghan for 8 months, and that's pretty much my primary role over there.
Yeah, awesome. And so I guess in that particular role, like when you're not required to drive, do you kind of just have free rein to, you know, do what, like go to the gym and do what you want to do, or are you then required to do other driving tasks?
I was pretty lucky in the sense that I was dual rolled over there. So I was also the combat first aider for our team. So
cool.
If I wasn't driving, I had the opportunity, I guess, to go volunteer down at the roll 2 or roll 1. I can't remember which one it was, but the main hospital that was based on the airbase there at North Kaya. So I did that, and with my Gloria Jeans background, they had this little burger shop called James's Burgers at Kabul. So I would go over there and teach the local Afghani boys at the coffee shop how to do latte art and all this like Australian coffee stuff. So they were very much employed by Americans. So all the kind of coffees and whatnot they made were all American style. So I would pop in and be like, do you guys want to learn how to do a latte like with a love heart on it? And they'd be like, oh my God, yes, please, miss. I taught them how to do love hearts and ferns and how to use like the caramel syrup to do patterns on top of the lattes. And that was amazing. Because then I got free coffee for the rest of my deployment. So
that's awesome. And American coffee is notoriously shit.
Rubbish. Yes.
So if you could make it a little bit better, then I'm glad that you had the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Yeah. So.
So you were based in Kabul. Did you get the chance to go to any other parts of the country?
No, just in and out of AMAB, straight into Kabul.
Yep.
Brief touchdowns in Kandahar. That's about it.
Yeah, cool. And during that time, like what did you experience? Like what did you love about your deployment, and you know what sort of experience did you have?
Oh yeah, gosh. I was definitely not prepared for the culture shock, I guess. I mean, I was 23 when I deployed, maybe just turned 23. So I was pretty young and pretty naive, and I mean, I was out and about. I was pretty much outside the wire all day, every day, in between different bases, wherever the boss needed to go. So even just the driving, what surprised me the most was the quality of the roads over there were better than what they are here. Which I was like, what? This is not what I was expecting, like, at all. Like,
and Kabul is probably like, I haven't been there, but I'm just going to assume like way more westernized or way more, not westernized, but it's like it's a bit more modern than like Tarakoud and whatnot.
Yeah, so it is the capital of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So it's really very strange, like some parts of it were very modern and other parts were like exactly what you would expect of Afghanistan. Like one side of the highway would be, like tent city where there's kids, kicking around a soccer ball, living in absolute poverty. The other side of the highway is like lit up like Vegas, like wedding halls and markets, and like it looks like casinos, but obviously they're not casinos. And it was just so bizarre to see like one extreme to the next. Like, and then you're on a highway and there's like 1,000, a million Toyota Corollas, and they're all exactly the same. And then but right next to you there might be a donkey and a cart, and you're just like, what is this place?
Yeah, it's definitely a world of extremes over there.
Yeah, and like, and extremes, like there were the odd sightings of Lamborghinis or Ferraris, and you're like, what on hell is going on here? Like,
someone's doing well in the poppy trade business.
Yeah. Or even like, the I think at the time actually there was a bit of conspiracy about where all the budget for, fuel had gone. They're like, oh, it's a lot of money in that car. I wonder where that came from. Like, so, but no, it was it was crazy too. Like, you'd be on the highway and there would be beggars, I guess, and most of them would be women just standing in a pothole on the highway with their brand new baby, just like you're doing right now, and just like begging for money.
I'm not in a pothole.
No, you're not in a pothole. But initially, like, you'd be like, oh my God, that is so sad, like that that's their reality. But then to find out, down the track that, oh, that's their actual job. Yeah,
it's staged a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But you do feel sorry for them, and you do stop, and you do, it's like probably not even their baby. Yeah.
No, yeah. So, yeah, it was a crazy time. Like, I've been out at Cargo, which is where most of our infantry and cav guys were posted at the time, doing like mentor task force kind of operations.
Yeah.
And I think I've been in country for about 3 weeks when America's highest ranking general ever on ops was killed.
Yeah.
And that was like a green on blue with some Afghan MPs that had decided enough was enough. And so that was a mass cause out there that a bunch of the FPE guys got to work on as CFAs, and a bunch of them actually got awarded American awards for that day. And I think Captain Katrina Kelly was the nurse that was based over there, and she got a DSM for her actions that day. So
yeah, right.
It's like some days you would feel like you were not in any danger at all, and then other days you'd be very aware of it. So,
well, that was going to be my next question, is given the role that you were doing and, like the vehicle you're driving probably felt very like something you would drive at home.
Yeah.
Like, did you feel like you were in danger? Were you living in that subconscious state of fear, or, did you just feel like, oh, okay, I'm kind of just like another day on the job? But I guess you've answered that by some days you probably just wouldn't think twice about it, and other days you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and it was really bizarre. Like, I guess you would know, like, you get so absorbed in your actual work that, whilst we're, like, driving to different places every day, like, you'd be so focused on, like, one, like, your navigation, like, where are you going? Because, you don't have a GPS in your car like you do. Yeah, you're going off, like, an ISAF map, and which is, this road's called yellow and this one's called white, and it might not actually exist.
I was going to say, which you just got to hope is accurate.
Yeah, and if you're not focused on where you're going, you're focusing on looking for vehicles that might have been on the bolo list that day. Like if you see a number plate with this number, like it could be an IED, so probably avoid that. And if you can't, let us know what it is. So you're very focused on like all your secondary tasks, and I guess like you don't really process like what kind of danger you're in until I think even when you come home from Afghan. I can remember doing my POPS screening before I came home, which is like your psych evaluation. And I found my form the other day actually, and one of the questions is like, did you feel like you were in any immediate danger? And I was, on my form I was like, no. To read that like 7 years later, I was like, what are you thinking? Of course you were in immediate danger. Like,
it just becomes so normal. It's bizarre.
It does. It honestly does become your normal. Even like rockets going off during the night that hit the airfield or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, just roll over and go back to sleep. Like that was not very loud. Or you're like, yeah, that one was a bit loud. Like that must have been closer than normal. I think one of them actually hit a JCB on the runway and just blew it up. So
yeah.
Like,
and that's that stuff like that happens all the time. We had a point where they were trying to get our air traffic control tower quite often. They got pretty close at one point, and you just get up and get on with the job. Like the ATC guys are still going to work the next day. Like,
yeah. I mean, there was one, probably the biggest one was not even a week before I was due to come back to Australia at the end of my deployment. And my roommate, who I'd had for the whole 8 months, had left only like 2 days prior. So I was a bit sad naturally that we had like this pimp-ass room that we'd called the sloth den, and we arranged it. We were pretty open. So when she left, I rearranged the room so that, for the next incoming person would feel like they had a bit of privacy with their cupboards. Like, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like that morning, it was a Sunday morning. It was actually the day before Australia Day. Julie Bishop came in the next day, but this little blue truck parked up and it was full of oranges, and it detonated at at the north gate of the base, which is only about 100 meters from where all our Australian accommodation was. So that detonated, and it just like obliterated the base. Like that was probably the first time that I had actually like woken up from an explosion and being like, oh my God, that hit our fucking building. Like not the runway, not a shed, like our building. Like all the windows were blown in. The stuff in my room was just like, looked like a cyclone had gone through it. And I just remember like pretty much getting pushed out of bed. Like I didn't roll out of bed, I got pushed out of bed. And every single alarm was going off. Like, the alarm for IDF was going off, the alarm for fire, intruder alert. Like, so it had tripped like every single alarm on the base, and like just everyone in the building was in the hallway, like, what's going on? Like,
it was chaos.
Yeah, it was chaos. And you go outside and it was just like oranges everywhere. Like,
and you just look at that scenario and just be like it's not laughable, but you just kind of look there and go, it's fucking oranges. Yeah. Like, what the fuck is happening?
It's like next to this car door is a bunch of orange skins, and there's a bit of a winch, and there's a bit of the roof, like, and like two of the DFACs, which is equivalent to our messes back here in Australia.
Yeah, like
their roofs were completely stoved in. Even the shops at the airport, which was like across, so the international Kabul airport was on our base, just on the other side of the runway. So even like all the shop window fronts from, like 2 Ks away, they were all completely like blown in from the shockwave. Like it was that big. I can't even.
So what happened then with your accommodation? Like, could you still stay in it?
We kind of had to. We didn't really have any other option. But yeah, they pretty much just like anyone that's windows were completely crumped in. Most of them didn't shatter. They just kind of just got like blown into the building.
Yeah.
So we were able to just like put them back on the walls and pretty much just like screw them back in. which all of us were like, oh yeah, that's secure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, you know, as soon as that happened, my first thought was like, cool, I bet the boss has to go somewhere. So
Yeah.
I'm not even worried about my room. Like, straight away, you're just getting your kid on, getting ready to go because, you know, like, job's on. So it doesn't matter what's just happened 5 minutes ago. Like, whatever the boss has to go do, like, that's going to be the priority for my day until we get back.
Yeah, of course. So you'd be like, yep, cool, uniform on, let's go.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so I guess you've spent that 8 months there and then returned home. I'm guessing you took a little bit of leave, and then, like, what happens next for you? Are you posting? Are you going on courses? Like, you would have been ready for promotion at some point, I'm guessing, or like what, because what I'm getting at is, like, you went reserves at some point. So, like, what's your timeline, I guess? What happened?
Yeah, so I guess it's a bit cliche, but I met my then husband over on that trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was posted down in Sydney. So when I got back from my trip, I was actually meant to go on sub 1 immediately, but you know, I've just been in Afghan for 8 months and was like, hell no, am I going to do 8 weeks on a promotion course, which, you know, at the time was not an easy course. It's not like it is now. Like, there was food depth, sleep depth, just you name it, you went through it. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I want some rest time. So I took some leave, and then I decided to go to reserves and post down to Sydney so that I could be co-located with my partner at that time. So yeah, I went down to Sydney and worked at 2 Commando Regiment as a reservist. Pretty much paraded full time for a couple of years. In that period, had my daughter Aria. She's 5 now. And yeah, also
being posted to the Commando Regiment as a reservist, like, you know, that's and as someone who's, like, you know, non-combat, that's going to be like pretty cool experience. Or like at the start, maybe, I don't know, like, what's the experience like? Is it just another unit, or are you like part of something that's like a secret society? Or
to be honest, it's like if you think when you're a civilian, like, army is a world that you don't really know about unless you're in it. SOCOM was like that again. So it's like, this is another army within the army that I was not expecting or tracking. I guess because they are so closed off to everyone and everything is so internal. Like, all their processes and everything are completely separate to Forces Command. So, you know, I pretty much didn't wear a uniform the whole time I was there, which in itself is like, what?
Yeah.
They give you a budget to be like, you have this amount of money to go buy new work clothes because
that's what she said,
yeah. So, and, you know, the work was so different, which obviously I'm not going to touch on too much.
No, of course.
But yeah, it's a completely different experience to a regular army. So if you are interested in doing that, I definitely recommend it. Lots and lots of fun to be had as support staff, definitely.
Yeah, you'd probably find yourself, and obviously we're not going to discuss the particulars of it due to operational security, but or OPSEC, but you probably found yourself in situations or having these experiences where you'd have almost like an out-of-body experience and just be like, how did I end up here? Like, how did I end up doing this? Or like, this is crazy, or this is so cool, or like those moments where you're just like, I never would have thought I'd be doing XYZ, or I don't know. That's what I
guess it's a bit like you touched on before, like the celebrity thing. So I can remember even before I deployed thinking like, oh my God, it would be so cool to meet a commando. Like, imagine the stories they'd have. And not thinking like, you know, I deployed in 2014, so most of our combat missions had wrapped up by then. You know, we were transferring across from Op Slipper to Op High Road, so I was like, oh, I've probably missed the boat. Like, I'm not going to meet anyone cool. I'm not going to see anything interesting. And then, you know, I married one of them, so then there's like, oh, how do you go from like, what? That's crazy. But no, and is definitely one extreme to the next. So
And so you've had your daughter, and then you've decided that you want to go back full-time, which is when you reached out to us. And how old was she at that point when you decided you were going to go back full-time?
She would have been 3.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. And so you've reached out to us to get some help with online training. But at that point you were looking at going officer. I remember you saying to me, like, don't hold it against me. I'm going to do the dirty and go across to the other side. So why did you want to do that?
Yeah, so it goes back to my deployment actually. So yeah, halfway through my deployment, my boss, Major General, just kind of like, dangled the carrot, I guess. Like just randomly, like, why are you a digger? I was like, oh, I just am. Like, I came in, like, I didn't really think anything of it. And she's like, oh, I think you should really consider becoming an officer. And I was like, oh, nah, I don't think so. Like, probably not for me. But I guess, she dangled that carrot. And, by the end of my trip, she had actually convinced me to put my application in. So I did.
And to go through GSO, through RMC?
Yeah, to go through GSO, yep. So I put my app in. Unfortunately, my year 12 results weren't good enough. So I didn't make it past the paper boards for that. They basically, Schema told me to resit year 12 basically and reapply again. So
easy, no worries, sure.
Right off the bat, I was like, not doing that.
I'm only doing year 12 again if I can have another after formal party.
Right. So whilst I was down at Tucumado, I decided I would go to uni. So I enrolled into my Bachelor of Nursing. Loved it, was doing really well, and decided I would actually stick my application in for SSO instead. So I did that whilst I was down at 2. I actually did well at my board and got recommended, but unfortunately fell really sick. So I ended up spending about 9 days in one of the ICUs down in Sydney. My appendix ruptured. It was gangrenous. I got sepsis and then got pneumonia. My lungs collapsed.
How the fuck does that happen? How does your appendix get gangrenous?
Yeah, I was super unlucky. I had like an asymptomatic appendicitis. So yeah, and it was really weird because I had literally just studied like the gastrointestinal tract that week at uni. So I was like, no, surely not. This is not happening. So yeah, I got really sick, and that was kind of like literally just 3 weeks after I had sat my board. So I struggled through like the next half of this semester and finished off then. But then, I felt like I needed a bit of a break to focus on my recovery. And at that point, that's when my marriage had started to take a bit of a dive. So I deferred uni and, as a result, had to pull my application for that. So which is how I kind of ended up at U, I guess, was I was a bit lost, having deferred my degree. At the time, I didn't really feel like I wanted to take the nursing back up, and kind of felt like GSO would probably be the better pathway. But I'd also had my breast implants in between then and now, which, as you know, is a big part of why I contacted you.
I still remember having a conversation with you about having your boobs done in push-ups, and you were like, you couldn't do it. You were struggling to do push-ups.
I couldn't, and it was a massive blow for me. Like I've always been fit and strong. Like strength has always been my thing. I train powerlifting style, love it. But I got my implants in after not being really happy with them after having ARIA. I'm sure all new mums can relate with all the different changes that you go through.
Word.
So I decided to get breast implants, and I pretty much rejected them my body just rejected them from day one. So
it kind of, I feel like, I can't remember how long you'd had them when you came to us, but it wasn't very long. It was only a few months. And I almost felt like from that point when we were discussing it that like you knew that you'd made a mistake in getting them. You were just like, this is probably the dumbest decision I've ever made, but here we are, and, now I've got them. And so you've obviously persevered through and kept trying to, I don't know, push through or whatever. And then what came first, like re-enlisting into full-time or having them removed?
No. I think I literally only had them in for 8 months.
Oh, okay.
I was like, enough is enough. I got them out, which you can imagine the displeasure of my husband at the time. Like, I just paid all this money for you to get your boobs done, and now you're going to pay all this money to take them out. Like, what's wrong with you? You're a crazy person. And I'm like, they are literally making me crazy. Like, I also have an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's. So anyone that's had a kid, you're probably familiar with it. It's pretty common. And my thyroid antibodies, whilst I have my implants in, actually tripled.
Wow.
So I was very much like, my body was very much rejecting them. So I just felt dead.
So it was like a fitness thing as well as a general health thing too. It was like it's not working for you.
Yeah, from a physiological level, like my body rejected them, like straight up. My incisions didn't even heal. Like I was 6 months later and still popping stitches.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's honestly, and it was that bad that my surgeon that put them in actually took them out for free. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So, and from that point onwards, getting my training back on track was so much easier.
Did you feel better straight? Like, obviously not immediately, she just had surgery, but once you kind of healed from surgery, did you feel better?
No, honestly, immediately. As soon as they were out, like I was just,
I'm hearing a lot lately, and probably just because I do listen to some pop culture podcasts and whatnot just to numb my head a little bit sometimes, but like there's a lot of like breast implant illness happening around the place where women who have had them in for, 5-10 years now are at a point where they're like, something doesn't feel quite right. And, they're getting XYZ symptoms and, I just don't want to talk about exactly what the symptoms are because I'm not a medical professional by any means, but there's, it's becoming a bit of a thing where women are like, it's not working for me anymore. Like, and they're getting them out.
They are getting them out. And it's like numerous surgeons have said now that they are actually doing more removal surgeries than what they are implanting.
Isn't that crazy?
There's like numerous studies happening at the moment, and I guess it's so ambiguous because so many of the symptoms can't be directly related to the implants, but you have, all these patients that are saying, I have all these symptoms, I never had them before I had my implants, and now that they've had their implants taken out, they're going, all my symptoms have now gone away. Like, this can't be a coincidence for this many thousands of women.
Yeah.
And they have correlated breast cancer to some certain types of implants. Like, that has now physically been proven. So, but like anyone that's listening to this that's thinking about getting them, like, please do your research and reconsider because, not only could it impact your ability to get fit enough to do your job, it can impact you doing your job. Like, I've seen women that have had to do their push-ups for their BFA on chairs so that their breasts, so they can hit that depth on their push-ups. Like,
and you can imagine how the men are looking at those women who are getting this like special treatment because of their boobs. Like, you can imagine how that comes across as well.
Yeah, and like girls, it fucking hurts. Honestly, it does. Like, when you've got even just natural breasts, let alone implants on top, and you're wearing body armor and you've got to run in it and you've got those weight plates like hitting them.
Yep.
I've known 2 girls now that have had their implants rupture because of work.
Yeah.
So
I had a friend who had one rupture on deployment and had to like later on get it sorted out. I don't know exactly how it happened, but yeah, it happens. My sister just got hers done, and she was, they were trying to have a second kid for ages and it wasn't happening. And so she was like, all right, cool. Well, we'll just have one kid and I'll go and get my boobs done. And literally 6 weeks after she'd had her boobs done, she fell pregnant. So she's pregnant now. But even she has said, like, so how long she had them for now? Like 3 months or something. No, more than that, 5-6 months. Even she's like, yeah, it's really like awkward. Like, I'm not really sure like how to deal with them when I'm doing normal life things. Like, it's quite weird, it's and even she's not regret, but she's a bit like, it's I didn't think it was going to be so weird. I thought you just kind of like get on with life.
I think they have a bigger impact on you than what you realize they are, I guess.
a lot of people are getting them obviously for, their own confidence or just because they want to or for aesthetic purposes. And I don't think people are thinking about like the physiological biomechanics when it comes to fitness and general life stuff and like, how it can impact your mindset as well.
Even just running, like, despised it. Like, so just hurts. And, they're just heavy. Yeah. Good luck finding a bra that's actually supportive enough to handle your new double Ds. Trust me, it's impossible.
So I guess that was then a turning point for you with regards to your fitness, because I'm guessing that you probably then felt like you were able to give it more. And you've decided to go back down into the enlisted route and re-enlisted back in as a driver. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to do Kapuka again or anything?
No. So because I had done so much reserve time, like it was pretty much, for me personally, I felt like I never even left defence. So, yeah.
Rating as much as you were, it probably just still felt like a full-time job.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Really cool. And so then, coming back into defence full-time, how did that go for you? Like what, you were posted back up here, I think. Is that right?
So I actually got posted out to RAF Base Amberley. There's 2 Army units out that way. So that was good. Massive culture shock. Having spent the last 4 or 5 years down at SOCOM, coming back into regular Army.
Having to wear a uniform. Even just all the normal regiment stuff, like probably you'd gone from calling people first names and then having to acknowledge rank and saluting and all this normal Army stuff that anyone else who hasn't been posted to a SOCOM unit wouldn't even think twice about. But because you'd been in this totally different environment, you probably come back and be like, oh shit, I've got to relearn how to be a soldier again.
Yes. Yeah, it was very confronting, if you will. Just like, obviously there'd been a little bit I'd forgotten, but not too much. Just I hadn't done drill for 5 years. So having to form up and get your name marked off the roll, I'm like, oh my God, like which foot do I use to come to attention? How embarrassing. But no, it was good. Like as much as SOCOM was different, I guess after so many years of it, you do get a bit over it because you're like, man, I kind of miss like the real Army.
Yeah.
If you're a green person, which I am, just like you, secretly, or not so secretly, perhaps.
No, not secretly. I'm very green.
It was good. It was good, but a lot had changed, especially in terms of like my actual specialty. So again, that's another thing that was completely different down in SOCOM, like the vehicles. Like they're a low vis unit, so they don't have many green vehicles about, so you're not really driving the trucks that we would normally drive in regular Army. So then coming back to regular Army, only to be like, oh my God, my qualifications now account for nothing because Land 121 vehicles have come in and I'm not licensed to drive any of them. So
did you basically have to relearn your whole trade?
Yeah, I wouldn't say relearn my whole trade, but definitely I had to go off and get a whole bunch of new licenses. So yeah, my first year back in defence was pretty much just upskilling.
Courses and
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you find then, because I'm imagining as a reservist and SOCOM, you've got a little bit of flexibility. Then coming into full-time regular Army now as a mother.
Yeah.
How is that juggle and what is that like?
Yeah, it's full on. Like it's possible and it's doable, and I'm lucky that defence has changed so much policy over the years because I guess if you might have caught on by now I'm a single mum. So, yeah, I still work full-time within Cat 7 within a CAV unit, so naturally they have a lot of time away, a lot of field, and if you're not doing field, then you're doing courses to continually upskill on, especially at the moment, they've got all the new capabilities coming in with Boxer. That's replacing ASLAV, and so, yeah, it's very, very busy, but I guess Ari goes to before and after school care each day, so I drop her at school at 6:30 in the morning to be at work for 7, and then I'm at work till 4, and then by the time I get to the school to pick her up. It's 4:45, and by the time we get home, it's 5:30. And yeah, so Monday to Friday is hectic, but it's definitely doable. So if you're a single parent and questioning whether you can do it, if you do have a good support network, then yeah, you definitely can do it.
And that's the key. You have to have that support network.
Absolutely.
Particularly if you're enlisting as a single parent, DFR is going to want to see what your plan is, because they're not going to want to take on the liability of employing you and then you can't do anything. You're going to have to prove that you have that support plan. So it's good that you have that now. Obviously, you didn't enlist as a single parent. You kind of evolved into that role. And so obviously it's chaos for you guys throughout the week, but I imagine you're probably pretty routine centric. And, that's just the way it is. And she's a bit older now too. So it's not like she's, like Jack, useless. Like she can actually, put clothes on herself and eat food herself and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I worry that maybe she's too resilient for 5 years old. Like, she wakes herself up most mornings because, I am obviously very time poor. So if you don't have time, you got to create it. So most of the day, like Monday to Friday, I'm usually up at 4 a.m. and I'm training in my home garage gym. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I just don't have time. Most mornings I'll train from like 4:30 to 6 a.m. Ari gets herself up at like 5:45 most days, just naturally. That's when she wakes up, and I've got her uniform laid out like on her bedroom floor ready for her to go, and she just gets out of bed, jumps straight into it, comes into the gym and be like, I'm awake and I'm ready. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. And that was going to be my next question, was how do you then make the time for yourself to make fitness a priority? Because as a soldier, fitness is crucial. It's part of your job. And as you said, you don't have the time, you've got to take it from somewhere else.
Yep, absolutely. So you just have to be smart. You have to, sure, you might not have time, but if you don't have time and you're not creating it, really you're just saying it's not a priority. So you get 24 hours in a day. So if you're only working or you're only busy for 12 of them, are you gonna sleep for the other 12, or are you gonna dedicate that time that might be in an unideal time frame? Like, no one wants to get up at 4 a.m. Crazy people do that, but that's what I have to do if I'm gonna keep progressing within my own training. So that's what I do. And I'm also back at uni, so I can't be like, oh, I'll just do it at nighttime, because when Ari goes to bed at nighttime, then I'm at my desk doing uni from 7 till 9 most nights. So it is trust me, and it's fucking crazy. But if you want to achieve stuff, you'll just put your big girl panties on and stop making excuses, and you'll just get it done.
And obviously you're in a fortunate position to be able to have a home gym and all that kind of stuff. And that's awesome, because where you live isn't close to the base. So it's not like you can just duck in and, use the base gym or whatever. You can during the day, but not at that time in the morning. It's closed anyway. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you created a situation that works for you and works in your best interest, so you can still put yourself first, and yourself, your health, your wellness, your soldiering, your career progression, all that kind of stuff. And, yeah, exactly as you said, you're busy for 12 hours a day, but what are you going to do for the other 12? Sleep? No. So there's definitely I wish, yeah.
I know, I wish so much.
I wouldn't mind just a 3-hour stint at the moment, but you've got to take the time from somewhere else. And everything you just said before is words out of my mouth. You have to find the time. And if you are not making the time, you're basically saying that this isn't important. It's what, is your job not important? Is your wellness and your health and not important? Of course it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's only as important as you make it. So, I could quite easily use the excuse that I'm a single parent and therefore I can't do duties and I can't do field. I don't have the time to train because I can't go to a gym. But for me, the training side of things is a big part of my own mental health too, I guess. So, I didn't have a gym 6 months ago, when I became a single parent. I left with nothing pretty much. I had to start all over again from scratch. So one of the things that was on my priority list was like, yes, I need a dining room table, but I probably need a squat rack more. So, it's just
That's
like
the best thing I've ever heard.
I'm like, this is fine. We can eat at the bench. Like, I don't need a dining room table, but, I can have a dining room table and have somewhere to eat each night, or I can have a squat rack and I'm going to have good mental health. So for me, the squat rack's going to win every time.
Just sit on the couch and eat. It's fun.
I know. I have a 5-year-old. Like, she doesn't give a fuck where she eats. I'm just happy if she's eating.
So glad it's not just my child.
Oh, yeah.
And so I guess, we're kind of tapping into this this world of, giving a shit about your fitness and giving a shit about your being good at your job and career progression and all that kind of stuff. And, being a female obviously means that sometimes we have to work harder to prove ourselves in that realm. And you're in a male-dominated unit, you're in a combat unit, in a support role. How do you, I don't know, you and me could probably talk for hours about this topic. I'm trying to word it in a way that's like a specific question, because I just feel like we could just go on for so long. But how do you make your fitness a priority so that you can use it to your benefit? You can use it in a way in your job that is like, hey, you don't need to worry about me because I'm good at my job, and people are looking at you and they trust you and they respect you because you're good at your job, you've got your personal life sorted, you're juggling life and parenting and everything as best as anyone can juggle any of that. But, you're prioritizing fitness and all of this is important to you. What do you have to say about that, basically?
For me, it just comes down to my self-accountability, I guess. And I hold myself to very high standards, which sometimes can be taken to an extreme that's unhealthy, which I think should be acknowledged as well. Sometimes you have to be realistic with what you can and can't achieve. Yeah. But in terms of how it's helping with my job, making sure that I'm strong and competent within my actual role is what got me the role in Afghanistan. I was meant to go to AMAB for 8 months, and the person that I replaced in the role that I ended up going to, they didn't go because of an injury that they acquired on their MREs. And, for me to get that role, they put all of us through a training scenario where we had to be able to conduct some drills within the vehicle, where we had to be able to drag the heaviest person within the team out of the car, fully bombed up. They've got all their armour, they've got their GAT, everything. And the team commander at the time was a 6'3", 110 kilo male without any of his kit on. And you had to be able to drag him unconscious through the opposite side of the driver's door. I'm trying to think what I'm saying here. Basically, you had to act like he was dead. You had to recover him out of the car with him not being able to assist you whatsoever, and you had to be doing that as an individual. And of all the people that went through, I was one of 12 people, and I think there was maybe 3 of us that could do that. And I was the only girl that could do it, and I probably did it to a better standard than what most of the boys did. Because I was strong. I'm strong as fuck. I'm anyone that's met me, I'm this 5'4", little stocky little powerlifting pocket rocket. I'm not a tiny girl, but I'm strong. So. And for context, the type of person you describe, that 6 foot, 110 kilo male, that's Michael. Yeah. And so for anyone that knows him or has, seen him in photos or videos or whatever, that's him. So he is literally twice my size. Mm-hmm. And so for you to be able